Okay, now whatever the property you want to override, write as the normal one, property and value, and say important, then close it. So what this does is like whatever the browser's default preferences, it overrides them and applies this style. Now let's use it on this guy. Now here I'll say color blue. Okay, so which of them are in color blue? Only this and this. But truly speaking, everything is a div here. This span should be blue, this should be blue. But since the order, we have seen the order, like the ID is first, select classes next, and the tags last. So I want to override everything, and I just want to give everything blue. So I'll say important here. Well, let's go here. Now you can see here variable's color is changed, though whatever the order I give over there, or whatever the browser's default precedence maybe, but still important, what it does is like it overrides everything and applies the style which I have said important there. Okay, so never ever use important until and unless it's very important. Okay, just like what some people do is like just go ahead and say everything to be important, but instead follow a rule, follow a order, so that you just use it very less. Like this is like a veto. Important is like veto, like you gotta use it carefully. Right, so that is our nesting of grouping of selectors. Okay, right, now the next is nesting. So this is again a small topic, nesting of selectors. Right, here I'll just change this name here, say grouping of selectors. Okay, so now what is nesting? What is nesting? There is a parent. Inside the parent there is a child, and for this child there is a child, and for this child is another child, and for this child there is one more child. So this is nesting. It's a hierarchy, like this guy's parent is this guy's parent is this guy's parent is this. So this is called nesting. Like if you go deep inside a tag, if you are going inside a tag, then it's called nesting. Now we can apply our CSS rules to this, to this, to this, to this, and to this. We can apply it in many ways. Like say I can directly say, okay, I can give a class to this, I can give a class to this, I can give a class to this, I can give a class to this. Okay, but instead of doing that, since let's say this child, let's say this guy is unique, he won't be appearing any other time. Like this parent has a child, another child, and another child, and these guys are like they won't appear again. So instead of giving a class to it and writing styles, I can just use nesting of selectors and style them. And it's up to the choice of the user, the designer, what to use when. But since again, I don't see much of a difference to use a class and nesting of selectors. But yeah, we can also nest the selectors too. Okay, so now we'll see the syntax, how we can do it. So the syntax is as usual. Let's say that guy is a parent selector, and I want to style the child selector. Okay, then here property and value. Now you can see here for grouping we use comma, But for nesting, we do not use anything except a space. If I give a space here, it means, okay, apply this style wherever there is this selector and whose child is this selector. Okay, it does not apply any styling on the parent selector, it only applies the style on the child selector, but on that child selector whose parent is this selector. Okay, I'll just write an example here to ease this. So what I do is, like I say, I'll write a div. Okay, inside the div I'll write a span. Inside the span I'll write a strong. Inside the strong I'll write an I for italic, and here my content lies. Okay, now this is nesting of tags, like we see usually we see this kind of nesting, right? Now when I write div and span like such, I'll just move this guy here and I'll say styling. I don't write the tag style, but I'll say div and span, and I'll say color blue. That means whatever I write here, okay, I am inside span, inside div, let's say. Okay, now whatever inside this span which is inside this div, this property will be applied, like this guy will be blue and even these guys will be blue because they are inside that span. We'll see how we'll see an example. Okay, so this is what nesting. Again, I hope you guys understood what is nesting. Nesting is like, right, a hierarchy, an order where we write our tags, and we can, as I told in CSS, every tag can be selector. If I give a class, then it says class selector. If I give an ID, then it's an ID selector. So nesting is done using spaces, and grouping is done using commas. So whenever I say I give a space between two selectors, that means this selector is a child of this selector. Exactly, yes. Yes, we'll see. So I just copy this and I open a new, and I'll say nesting selectors.html. Right, so selector nesting, and I'll remove these styles here and I'll remove these two. So let's go ahead and start. Div, let's say class, I'll say first. So inside that, let me write one more class second. Oops. Inside this, let me write a span called class equal to first span. Okay, and again, if you can see, I write, if I want to separate two words in classes, I use a hyphen. Okay, so we'll write second div here and first div. So you need not follow this order, but it's a good practice if we have some sort of rules to write programming, because if at all in future 2 or 3 people working on the same sort of code, then we guys should have a rule, so that hey, if you're declaring a new class, yeah, give it in this way, so that if at all I have to work on this, then I'll just seeing at it, I'll understand like, hey, this is a class, so I have to do something. Okay, so inside this strong, and inside this we'll use U for underline. I am inside U, inside, oops, inside strong, inside span, inside second div, inside first div. Alright, so this is nesting. So we just nested few tags here, like we're writing one inside the other. So I'll just remove this. I'm inside strong, I'm inside span. Alright, so we'll see how does it look like. I'll go here and I'll take this. Let me go here, open a new tab, and then drop this. Let me close these unnecessary things here. See. Okay, this is in span, this is inside strong, and this is inside U. Okay, now let's start from the last group. Okay, so the last group is U. So what I say is strong, here strong U. So I'll say text decoration none. So what does it mean? Wherever there is a U inside a strong, apply this. So you can see it here, it's gone. Now I'll write one U inside our second div, U, I am inside the second div. Now let's see what happens. Now you can see here, since the style is on U, but it did not apply it over there. It applied only when there is a U inside a strong. Now I'll say I can even group these things to, like, say not only this, if I want, even I can say, hey, whatever there inside this class second div and whatever which is U, okay, just go ahead and apply this style. So let's go ahead and see. Again, we are grouping the nesting structure, nesting selectors. Okay, so let's go back to Arun's question, wherein let's say the first span. Okay, I'll say the first span color blue. Now you can see here the first span starts from here and it ended here. But what I want to do is, like, hey, so I'll say color red. I know it's yeah. Here you can see here these two guys are inside U, so they are done this, and this is inside strong. We did not specifically apply anything, we only applied to the span. So this is how I can nest these selectors, or I can group these selectors, and I can group and nest these selectors. Right? Any questions here, like, about grouping and nesting? And remember that these things are used only to avoid writing multiple lines of code. So where exactly we use this, like, let me say, for instance, this U, okay, this U, let's take and this U. Now what I say is, like, instead of this, I'll say for every U, let there be a text decoration but I want it to be color red, and only this particular U, for in a design perspective, my client told me that hey, this there should be a U inside this, but I don't want an underline for this. But rest everywhere it should be underlined. Let's assume that you may think like this client kind of crazy, because why would he use a U for for this underline? Okay, but yeah, let's assume. Well, for grouping, I don't think so. For the time, maybe more the code. I mean, for these HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, okay, the more the code, the more the time it takes. So that's the only factor. It doesn't mean, because these guys are on the client side, so it's only about the sizes. For the client side languages, or let's say code, okay, the size matters. The size is the only thing matters. For server side code, for let's say for PHP or JSP or ASP, yeah, there are few factors where the performance really matters. Like if I say, if I call some functions which are huge, then yeah, the performance really matters. But here, coming to the client side, these are all things are client side. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery are all client side languages. So there is no problem unless and until the size is less. So the size is more, then there is a problem in loading. But really, there is no problem with this kind of structuring. This is for writing the list code. That's what it does actually. To write less code, we use structuring, we use grouping, we use nesting. Actually, it's not structuring, it's nesting. We use nesting the selectors. Okay. So for this particular guy, let's say I don't want any underline. Okay, but yeah, for this guy I need an underline. So what I do is, like, I'll go here and I'll say where is this guy? Inside our first span, let's say, and U. Okay, so I'm just keeping strong also, because I can do that. See, what it does is, like, it checks for a U inside this class. That's what it does. So is there a U? Yeah, there's an U. Go ahead and apply the styles. So that particular guy should have a line through, let's say, or overline. Okay, so we come here. Now you can see this guy has an overline. This guy. Okay, but this guy has an underline. So whenever I use U, like let me say inside the first div also, let me have a U. I am U. That's it, just for the sake of it. So now you can see here, everywhere it has the same styling, but for one particular thing, I can go ahead and say I can give a class here. Like, say class. I'll say no underline, let's say, or overline. I'll say overline. Instead of doing all this coding, I can just say, hey, for you this is the thing, for overline this is the thing. But again, when I have like 100 pieces of this particular code, let's say there are 100 instances where there is a U inside this first span. Okay, so in that case, yeah, I can go ahead and write. But what if I have to write freshly? Like, the code was written some years back, let's say. I don't know, what is this, but I can directly go ahead and say, hey, first span U is text decoration over line. So yeah, it's the choice taken by the designer to use what kind of structuring, to use what kind of nesting. Do I go for nesting, or do I go for only just classes? It's up to you guys. Okay, any questions here? well, yeah. So with that, I'll end the class.